Greetings, AJ here, back with another college confession story. Today we are going to talk about the last class I would like to talk about, my Italian class. Mamma mia. Oh. So I've had a problem with languages. Apparently I have a problem with a lot of things according to me. Writing, but anyway, languages. I took Spanish for years in like elementary and middle school, and when I took it in high school, I still found that I couldn't learn it for the life of me. I don't know, just maybe it's the language center in my brain just has a problem, which is weird because I can speak very eloquently to you guys, and I do know sign language. I was able to take that at my high school. But anyway, I only took the 2 years of Spanish in high school because I couldn't handle it. I sucked at it, to be honest. So I decided to take Italian because I am 50% Italian. And it seemed like, a fun language to learn. I would like to visit Italy. And it is based, it's Latin based, like English and like Spanish. So I feel like, and I had to take a language, so I feel like it'd be a decent option as opposed to continuing on with Spanish that's just caused me so much frustration. So, that being said, I'm not good at languages. Like, I do have to really work at them. So, I go to this class, and these kids, these were the rudest bunch of kids that I've ever seen. Let's go. There was a group of the kids. Let's go. Let's do this, guys. We're talking about this. No, there was a group of kids that I'm gonna call them the popular crowd because that's what they were. They thought they were big shots. These were the kids. It was about 2 girls and like this one gay guy, and they were like the mean girl clique. The people who assumed that everyone loved them. And I as far as I can tell, the rest of the class loved. No one stood up to them. I never said a word to them. I tried to ignore them. That was kind of my tactics. Because again, I knew no one would back me up if I actually said something. But there was this kind of clique, and what they would do is talk all the time. During class, before class, during class, after class, they would talk and talk and talk about the most superficial things. These were the type of kids that wore, sunglasses indoors. And this one girl, when the professor gave good news, she was like, "That's what's up, professor!" She was that girl. It's mainly this one girl. But, God, I hated her so much. And coincidentally, she was also in my computing class. I didn't mention her there, but I recognized her. So anyway, she would talk during the class, like, fairly loudly. And again, she was such an idiot airhead, like Jersey Shore character that, the things that she said were so vapid and annoying that they were annoying on their own sake. But then when it came time to actually learn stuff in class, she was talking. I couldn't focus. I sat in the very front row, and I had trouble focusing because she was talking. And I know, you're thinking, is this professor, what's up with the professor? Again, an older gentleman who the kids all buttered him up. I describe him as an older version of Super Mario because he had the mustache, he was very portly, he had he was balding, but he had the black hair. He looked like Mario, he did, and he was Italian, right? So, he was just a pretty oblivious professor and a pretty buttered up professor. Good guy, pretty good at teaching Italian, I guess. I don't know, I heard some kids who had Italian in high school say he wasn't that great, and all things considering, I wouldn't say it was amazing, but he did a decent job. He would fall into the middle category of professors, but he was oblivious. That was the main problem. Occasionally he'd tell the girl to shush, but didn't stick. So here I am in this class, and I can't focus. I had to study a lot on my own and stuff. But anyway, I ended up doing pretty well. Let me just get my grades out of the way, I guess. I'll share them with you guys. Second semester, I got 3 B's and an A-. First semester, I got all B's and the 1 C in computing. So, yeah. But anyway, so I ended up pulling a B in this class, which was pretty impressive considering I really had not much of a clue of what I was doing. But the final was multiple choice, so I guess I lucked out there. But anyway, so it was frustrating, you know, that I had to deal with this girl. And it was a lot of the class, too. A lot of the other class did talk a lot, you know. She was just the one that was just always talking. One of those annoying socialite girls. But anyway, so that was you know, that was the thing. But then, what became more prevalent was the cheating thing. And I mentioned this the first time, but I couldn't go into that class. I couldn't go into that class early on a test day, because if I did, I'd have to hear them discussing their plan for cheating. Because they would talk and talk about, you know, oh, let's sit in the back, let's, you know, how are we going to have our phones out, let's, you know, can I see your cheat sheet, I want to copy it, you know, you can't even bother to cheat, you know, you can't even bother to put in the effort to cheat, can you? You know, like, just, and just, you know, just such asinine conversations I had to overhear all the time, and the cheating got so bad, man. I wanted to tell the professor, but I really didn't know how, or you know, like, how to present that. And if I did, you know, he'd probably mention it, and then the kids would probably look to me. You know, I didn't want that, you know. But, you know, kids had phones out during tests. There was one test in particular. This girl, this horrible girl, actually got the fat girl, this portly girl in the class, to sit in front of her to hide her cheating. Like, that's how low these kids were. I'm sorry if I've already told this, I don't remember. But it was frustrating. And what would happen is exactly what I said the first episode. The professor was like, you know, hey, if you guys don't do well on this, you know, I'll, you know, we won't count it or whatever. But of course, all the kids cheated, and I got a low grade. You know, and it made me look bad, it made me feel bad, and it was just, you know, I was in a sea of just these low-life kids, you know, and again, it disgusted me the way they would butter up the professor, too, the way they would, you know, pretend to care, the way they would, like, you know, oh, are you teaching next semester? I really want to have you next semester, you know, they want to have him because he's oblivious and they can cheat. It's just, it was a very sickening experience, and considering it was a class where I really needed to learn this stuff because, in addition to having issues with learning languages, I was starting to confuse the Spanish stuff with the Italian stuff. You know, the months are very similar, you know, and so it was a tough time. I had to do a lot of studying on my own. Oh, and here's the thing. There was one, you know, there was one class. I mean, there were so many stupid kids. There was, you know, the professor would break down, you know, what the grade percentage was going to be, you know, 40% tests and quizzes, 20% the final, you know, 20% class participation, 10% showing up, you know, like, he would break it down like that. And, I mean, these stupid kids would ask him over and over again, like, he would say something, these stupid kids would be talking over him, and then he would literally, this one stupid guy that's friends with the socialite girl, the Jersey Shore girl, he would literally ask the same question that was just asked. Like, this is just the frustration, you know. And then, you know, getting close to finals, he was like, you know, basically the way I did it was, because he mentioned up front, most professors did, that you can miss 2 classes, and then after that, you know, you get points docked. Fair, you know, fair enough. This one girl was like, oh, well, I was missing a few classes, how much will my grade be affected? He's like, well, how many classes? She's like, I missed 5, and it's like, you gotta remember, the class meets 2 times a week for, I don't know, like, 3 months, 4 months, you know, like, you're missing, that was about, at least 1/5, if not 1/4 of the classes that this girl just said she missed. He's like, oh, that's gonna affect your grade. She's like, but you know, there were excuses, I had a wedding to go to, just all these excuses, man. Pathetic excuses. And the day before, not the day before, but the last class before the final, there was discrepancies, because again, the college was so, like, unorganized. You know, there was, people were saying, we didn't have class that day because it was a study day, and then other people were saying, this is a night class, night classes don't count for that sort of thing. So there was a lot of confusion going on about if we had class or not that day. Professor ended up saying, he's like, well, I'm going to be here this day. I'm going to review. Really, what excuse do you have not to come? It's a good review. You will be reviewing for your final. I'll just be here helping you. And so I'm like, well, fair enough. So I show up. I'm one of 4 kids to show up. Yikes. And the professor was actually not happy about this. I think this is when he finally took notice that the kids were very, slacking off. And it, yeah, I mean, it's just, and again, I get it. It wasn't a mandatory class. We think. I think it was. Yeah, I think that was the kicker, that it ended up actually being, an actual class, not just a review period, but the kids couldn't be bothered to show up that day. No, of course not. Such a frustrating group of kids. And this one Jersey Shore girl, again, I keep going back to her, but she was one of the worst kids I met at the school. I didn't even meet her. But she would do things like ask, have those fake conversations with people like, oh, you went on vacation? Where'd you go? And then continue to, ask one question and then go on to talk for 20 minutes about herself. And oh my God, did I have to hear so much about, how, I knew I could tell you exactly which places would serve minors in New York City based upon having overheard this girl say it so many times. Well, alright, I'm repeating myself, I'm looping myself here. That's it for classes. That's all I want to say. The other classes I took were decent. To good. I learned a lot of stuff in my Photoshop class. I learned some interesting things in my ethics class. Ironically enough, I took an ethics class at this school. But so I did learn stuff. I don't want to say that all classes at this school were awful, but I talked about a lot of classes that were, frustrating for one reason or another. And yeah. And, you're going to get bad classes anywhere you go. That's just the way it is. You're going to get bad professors. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, I think the outstanding thing here was that it was the students that really made it even worse. In any situation where I had a bad professor, having these flaky students compounded the issue. And that's really what I'm hoping to change. Oh, and I forgot to mention it last time, but you want to know the ultimate kicker to my story about my algebra class that I suffered through? It's the one class, the one thing of credits that my school that I'm transferring to won't accept. So that was literally all for nothing. But that's about it for classes. Next time I will be back with a totally different thing to talk about. So yeah, AJ out. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe if you like me, like this video if you, like this video, and comment if you have an opinion on anything that I just said. Oh, and I also have a Twitter. Follow me at Pieguyrulz. I usually respond to any comments or questions that I get. Pieguyrulz, out.